I had a weekday shift in a downtown office mailroom. My motive was to keep the job long enough to clear debts. My role was the guy who scans packages and sorts them into bins. And my plan was to post a harmless, weird package photo to 4chan for a laugh, then toss it and move on. The mailroom's a concrete box under a glass tower. No windows, just carts, bins, a wall clock that runs slow, and the scanner chirping like a little judge every time I do my job right. Most days I'm invisible. People dump their crap in the general drop and forget I exist until something goes missing. That envelope was sitting in the drop like it got lost on purpose. Plain pada maile, klean, nos mujas, no prupe adresa, no street, no name, just our building's general drop box, like the sender knew the system and didn't need a target. The return label was the stupid part. Santa's cord in cheap ink, crooked like a prank. I snapped a photo because it looked funny as hell. I covered anything that looked like a code. I told myself I was being careful. I posted it anyway. Replies hit fast. Jokes. Open it. Federal, keep it. Then one guy asked what building. I didn't answer. I shouldn't have even looked back, but I did because I'm a fucking moron who can't let go of a thread once it starts moving. Somebody replied with my exact building. The address, the lobby name, the delivery alley entrance. Not maybe. Not looks like. Correct. Clean. Like they'd been waiting to fill it in. My skin went tight. I scrolled up and stared at my own photo like it was crime scene. I'd left a sliver of the mailroom wall in the background, and on that wall is a dumb safety poster with a logo that only exists in this building. I didn't even notice it when I posted. Somebody did. I should have trashed the envelope right there and walked away. Instead, I grabbed the box cutter, slid it open, and dumped it on the table under the mailroom camera like that would protect me. Inside was one thing, a laminated sheet, perfectly cut, corners rounded, like it came from a copy shop. On it was a still from a security camera. Not my building's lobby. My apartment hallway. Same beige paint, same crooked "no shoes" sign, same angle from the camera across from my door. Under the photo, typed in a clean font, "You sort, you deliver, you can be trained." My brain did this stupid thing where it tried to find a normal explanation. Maybe it's a stock photo. Maybe it's a prank. Then I saw the little dent in my door frame from when I moved in and hit it with the couch. That dent isn't on any stock photo. That dent is mine. I checked 4chan again. The thread wasn't screaming docs. It was worse. Calm. People posting like they were watching a lab rat. Somebody dropped my shift start time. Somebody else posted, "Don't spook him too hard." Another guy wrote, like it was a rule, "Keep him moving." I deleted my post. It didn't matter. Screenshots were already up. The thread kept breathing without me. The next day, more envelopes showed up, always undeliverable, always routed through my hands. Not a stack. One here, one there, spaced like someone understood how to keep me from flipping out in front of coworkers. Each one had a single printed photo. Close-ups of my week. My scanner screen with my face faint in the reflection. My lunch bag under the table. The worn corner of my lanyard. My fingers on a card handle. My phone case crack. Dumb, ordinary details framed like evidence. The part that made me feel truly trapped was the stamp. Every one of those envelopes already had our internal intake stamp. That stamp gets put on after the mail comes in, which means these things weren't coming from outside like normal mail. They were getting stamped inside. They were already in the building, already in the flow, like the system itself had teeth. I tried to refuse them. I slid one into my manager's bin and said it wasn't right. Someone was messing with intake. He shoved it back at me and told me to stop being dramatic and do my job. I told him to stop acting like it was my fault, and he basically told me if I didn't want trouble, I should stop making it a building problem. I asked him to pull camera footage. He said he didn't have time for my internet bullshit. I snapped that it wasn't bullshit, that someone had my apartment hallway on paper. He stared at me like I'd grown a second head. After that, he started watching me work, hovering behind my shoulder, counting my scans like I was stealing time. When I got sloppy because my hands shook, he wrote me up for mis-sorts and careless handling. I tried to change my routine. I swapped shifts with a guy who owed me. He bitched, call me paranoid, try to back out, and I snapped at him so hard he shut up. I changed my commute. I stopped using my phone on the street. I left it at home some days. I started walking extra blocks just to feel like I was doing something. Nothing changed. The envelopes still landed in the drop. The thread still knew when I took lunch, because my scanned timestamps paused the same way every day. They weren't guessing. They were watching patterns and building a schedule out of me. They called it cataloging, like I was a product line. My manager dragged me into a little conference room and told me security had questions. Two guys in polos with that fake calm voice asked if I knew what operational security meant. They asked for my phone. They asked if I'd ever posted about the building. They kept saying internal breach like I was a hole in the wall. I sat there with my jaw clenched and realized I couldn't say a message board is using my hands as a conveyor belt without getting laughed out of the room or fired on the spot. So I kept it vague. Someone stalking me. They nodded like that was my personal drama and circled back to policy. They told me to sign a memo about device use. They told me any further incidents will be disciplinary. I walked out feeling dirtier than when I walked in. The thread stayed alive, quiet and ugly. No big threats, just control. Anand's posting little updates based on my scans. He's late today. He skipped lunch. He's trying to change routes. Like they were narrating my breathing. Every time I tried to ignore it, another envelope showed up with a photo that proved they were still close. One had a shot of my hands in the bathroom stall holding paper, taken from below the stall gap, like some creep had pressed a phone to the floor. I almost quit right then. I drafted a resignation on my phone, thumb shaking, then remembered they already knew my schedule without my consent. Quitting didn't feel like escape. It felt like handing them a new variable to play with. One Friday, I found an envelope addressed to my mother's name. Not just her first and last. Her old maiden name spelled right, the one nobody outside family ever gets correct. It had my apartment building as the address. My mouth went dry, so fast my tongue stuck to my teeth. I didn't open it at my station. I shoved it under my hoodie and took it to the bathroom stall because I didn't want cameras catching my face when I looked. I tore it open like an animal. Inside was a printed screenshot of 4chan. Thread title, Next, Family Test. Under it, a photo of my mom's porch light at night. Close enough to see the chip paint on the post. Recent enough that the same busted string light on her railing was half dark. I didn't call her. Calling felt like announcing myself. I drove. I drove too fast, checking mirrors like I expected a car to be glued to me. I parked crooked and ran up her steps. I checked the front door, the back door, the windows. I walked her yard with my heart punching my ribs. Nothing. No footprints. No cigarette butts. No broken latch. Just her quiet house and that porch light buzzing like it always does. That was the worst part. Not a masked guy jumping out. Not a note on the door. Just the fact that someone had been there, stood where I was standing, taken a photo, and left like they owned the place. Empty space where a person should be, and certainty that they'd already done it. I went inside quiet because I still had a key. I stood in her kitchen and listened to the refrigerator hum and her old clock tick, and I hated how normal it all sounded. I checked her back door lock twice. I checked the window latches like she's a kid. I crept down the hall and watched her sleeping for a second, chest rising, mouth open a little, and I almost woke her up just so I could hear her voice and prove she was real. I didn't. I couldn't dump my fear on her and then drive off. I walked back out and sat in my car until my hands stopped shaking enough to grip the wheel. I went back to my apartment and stared at the hallway camera across from my door until my eyes hurt. It blinked red like it always did. I wanted to rip it off the wall. I wanted to smash something. Instead, I set my keys down gently like any noise might trigger the next test. I'm still in the job because quitting doesn't erase me from their list. I sort envelopes with shaking hands and wonder which one will force me to become the delivery method for something I can't take back. I had a closing shift at a tattoo shop that did piercings. My motive was to keep tips steady without drama. My role was the person who sterilizes tools and deals with walk-ins. And my plan was to kill time between clients by lurking 4chan threads about body mod trends and ignoring everything else. It was that dead last hour where you're basically a janitor with gloves. I ran the ultrasonic, checked the autoclave printout, packed sterile pouches, wrote times in the log, wiped my station until the laminate squeaked. I should have shut my phone off. Instead, I kept scrolling because it felt like chewing ice, bad for you, but it keeps your mouth busy. I clicked into a thread that wasn't about jewelry at all. It was about control. Anons posting before or after shots of strangers they'd nudged into changing something. Shaved brows, bad haircuts, dumb tattoos. Then bragging about the exact second the person realized they'd been played. They didn't call it bullying. They called it soft harm, like it was cute, like it didn't count because nobody bled on camera. The comments read like a how-to manual. Be helpful, be patient, offer options that aren't options, keep receipts. Near closing, a walk-in came in. Hoodie up, hands in pockets, polite. He asked for a specific piercing, paid cash, and kept his eyes down like he was trying to look normal. I didn't get a red flag vibe. I got a nothing vibe, which is worse in hindsight. I did the routine anyway. Forms, ID, wash up, fresh gloves, lay out the tray, open the needle in front of him. I cleaned the skin, marked placement, made him check it. He nodded fast. Every few seconds, he glanced at his phone like it was buzzing a cue. I told myself he was texting a ride. The piercing went smooth. One clean pass, jewelry seated, minimal bleeding. I dumped the needle in sharps, started breaking down, and that's when he asked for a photo for my friend. Not of the piercing alone, of the setup, my hands, the whole scene. I said no. Shop policy, and also I'm not feeding somebody's group chat with my workbench. He didn't argue. He just smiled like he already got what he came for and walked out. 10 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Link. I tapped it and my stomach dropped so hard it felt like missing a step. It was a 4chan thread. New post. The image was my workstation from above, mid-setup, my gloves, my tray layout, the little nick in the laminate counter, my wrist tattoo. Caption. Piercer thinks he's safe. Watch. I zoomed in like that would make it fake. It didn't. I pulled the front door cam up. He was across the street under the streetlight. Not leaving, phone held low, body still like he was streaming. He wasn't hiding. He wanted me to know he could reach back through the screen. The thread didn't say go stab him or anything clean like that. It got practical and mean. Ruin the shop. Make it expensive. Someone dropped the business name. Someone else posted the address. Then screenshots of the review pages. Fake one-star reviews started popping up in real time. Each one more specific than the last. Infections, dirty tools, reused needles, me laughing at a girl who cried, me touching jewelry with bare hands. They wrote a whole victim story with my height and my beanie and a scar on my forearm like they'd seen me enough to own me. The shop phone started ringing nonstop. Half the calls were dead air. The other half were people asking the same loaded questions in that sweet fake voice. Do you sterilize? Do you reuse equipment? Like they were fishing for a clip. Our booking app started choking. Appointments got spammed, canceled, rescheduled, then spammed again. Within an hour, clients were bailing, and I could see the tip money evaporate off the schedule like smoke. My boss called and went straight to rage. He didn't ask what was happening. He demanded what I did. I sent him the thread, the photo, the cam clip. He stared at it for 2 seconds and said, "Flat, that screenshots don't pay rent." He blamed me for bringing internet bullshit into his shop. I snapped back that I refused a photo, and now a mob was swarming us. He told me I should have just taken the photo if it kept people happy. I said that's insane. He said the shop can't afford my principles. We yelled until my throat hurt, and then he hung up. After that, the pattern started. Over the next week, more walk-ins showed up like they were copying a script. Polite cash phone obsession. They didn't care about the piercing. They cared about angles. One tried to accidentally step behind my counter to catch the autoclave screen. I shoved him back, and he acted offended, like I was the problem for not letting a stranger wander around my sharps container. Another kept asking me to repeat my name. Another asked if he could film for his buddy who's studying sterile technique. I told him to get out. My boss saw me refuse and started hovering, watching me like I was the liability. I stopped moving like a normal person. I kept my face turned away from any phone. I cover my wrist tattoo. I logged everything twice because I knew someone would claim I didn't. It didn't matter. The thread didn't need truth. It needed material. Then a girl came in shaking, clutching her ear. It was swollen and red, like someone had jammed cheap jewelry into it and left it to rot. She looked terrified and embarrassed, like she knew she'd done something dumb and now it hurt bad. She begged me to help. I could have said no and protected myself. I didn't. I sat her down, washed up, put on gloves, cleaned it, dressed it, told her to see a doctor. I didn't charge her because it felt wrong to take money for damage I didn't cause. My boss saw me using supplies on her and hissed at me after she left, saying I was bleeding the business dry while we were under attack. I told him to fuck off. We argued in the back by the sink, loud enough that a tattoo client looked up. That night, the thread posted a photo of the girl's ear with our shop tag like I'd done it. The caption made it sound like I infected her, then covered it up. The comments celebrated it like a win. Conversion, they called it. Turn a good deed into evidence of guilt. I stared at my phone at home and finally understood the trap. Whatever you do, they can flip it. Help is guilt. Refusal is guilt. Silence is guilt. 2 days later, health inspectors walked in. Real badges, real clipboards. Somebody had done the calls for real. They asked for sterilization logs, spore tests, consent forms, complaint records. They moved slow, calm, like they'd done this 100 times, and my boss put on his best concerned face. The whole time, he kept glancing at me, like if he stared hard enough the problem would stick to my skin. He fired me right there to protect the shop. No apology, no thanks, no anything. Just, you're done. And a look that said, please be the sacrifice so they go away. He told the inspectors he takes allegations seriously and that I was no longer employed. I wanted to smash something. I didn't. I took off my apron, left my key on the counter, and walked out the back like I was leaving a crime scene. I thought losing the job would end it. It didn't. The thread loved that part. Now, they had consequences to point at. I started getting texts from new numbers, messages on random accounts, people telling me to admit things I didn't do, people claiming they knew where I lived. Someone called my landlord and said I was running an illegal piercing setup in my apartment. I had to stand in an office and explain myself while a guy who didn't know me weighed whether I was worth the hassle. My sleep broke into scraps. Every notification hit like a slap. I went home and tried to do the responsible stuff. I filed reports on the fake reviews. I emailed platform support. I called the non-emergency line and got the same bored answer. If they haven't made a specific threat, there's not much. I even messaged a mod account on the site like that would help. Like the internet has a manager you can complain to. Nothing moved. The reviews stayed up long enough to do damage. And the thread kept screenshotting everything. So even when one thing vanished, they'd repost it somewhere else with a new caption. My boss texted me later demanding I come sign a statement saying I'd violated policy. I told him no. He threatened to withhold my last check until I cooperated. I had to show up with my hands in my pockets, take the envelope, and eat his smirk. After that, I started applying elsewhere, and every interview died the moment they Googled my name. You can feel it when somebody's tone changes and they're already picturing you as a problem. And the worst part is there wasn't a monster in the dark. No knife guy, no ghost, just a crowd and a lever. People who don't need gore, don't need threats, don't need anything dramatic. They just need a target, a platform, and a little time. They pull, and a real person's life bends until it breaks, and everyone calls it fun. I had the 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. volunteer shift on a crisis text line. My motive was to keep my head busy after my own bad year. My role was the calm typist who follows scripts and escalates emergencies. And my plan was to finish the queue, log out, and stop doom scrolling 4chan before bed. The work is mostly typing into a void, and pretending you're calm can travel through a screen, but it keeps your hands moving and your head from chewing itself. I broke my plan at 12:26 because boredom makes you sloppy. Slash hit a thread titled, "I'm going to do it on cam, but in O cam." Opie wrote like a receipt, not a plea. No poems, no drama. He posted a photo of a pill bottle label with the name blocked out, then a second photo of a bathroom floor tile pattern. Then he started counting down in minutes. Replies landed like spit. People typed, "Huh," and "do it," and "prove it." A few begged him to stop and got mocked for caring. Someone pasted the hotline number I was literally working for, like it was a punchline, like that little rectangle of digits made them innocent while they egged him on. Seeing our number in that sewer made my throat tighten. It wasn't help to them. It was a prop, proof they'd done the bare minimum before they went back to cheering. I hovered over the close tab button and didn't hit it because part of me still believed if I watched hard enough I could steer it. I told myself I was only looking so I could report it if it got real. That was my excuse. I kept the thread open in a corner and kept my work dashboard front and center, like that meant anything. Then my dashboard pinged with a new texter and my stomach dropped before I finished reading the first line. Same cadence as the thread. Same short sentences. Same timer energy. He didn't say, "I'm suicidal." He didn't say, "I want to die." He said he was testing response time. He asked what I would do if someone posted a photo of their location, but not the address. He asked what triggers an emergency trace, what gets a call routed, what keyword flags a supervisor. He kept steering me toward the plumbing, the parts we're trained not to discuss, like he wanted to map the safeguards and the holes. The whole time it felt less like a person reaching out and more like someone trying to break a lock by asking the lock how it works. I try to drag it back to feelings because that's the job. I asked what made him text tonight. I asked what he was hoping would happen. I asked if he felt safe right now. He dodged it all with this flat, controlled tone that made me feel like I was the unstable one. He asked if we record transcripts. He asked if I could see his number. He asked how active rescue works, and when I refused to explain procedures, he pivoted to wording. What exact phrases count? What words make us panic? What words make us route a call? I kept trying to wedge in the real questions, and he kept sliding away, calm as a metronome, like he'd done this before. Then he dropped one line that made my stomach drop harder. He described a tile pattern from his 4chan photo without me mentioning it. Not vaguely. The speckle grout, the darker triangle by the drain, the little chip in the corner tile. He wrote it like he wanted me to picture it, like he wanted me in the bathroom with him. I stared at my two screens and felt that sick click in my head. He was running two audiences at once, and I was one of them. I escalated anyway. I flagged imminent risk and pushed for a welfare check. My supervisor popped in and immediately asked for an address. I told her he wouldn't give one. She pressed like I was withholding it out of laziness. I told her he was probing emergency procedures, and I thought he was tied to a live 4chan thread. She snapped that I shouldn't be on 4chan during shift. I snapped back that the texter was, and he was using it to amplify whatever he was doing. She told me to stay in protocol. I told her protocol was choking us. She said we can't dispatch on maybe. We need something dispatchable. So I went back to him and pushed. City, street, complex name, anything. He kept turning it into a quiz. How fast do cops arrive once you call? What triggers a trace? What's the minimum info that makes us route a call? Whether we can reach his carrier. Whether hypothetical language delays it. Every question felt like him sharpening a tool and testing it on my hands. I kept trying to wedge in safety questions, and he kept sliding away like he was greased. The system demanded something concrete, and he gave me something concrete on purpose. A photo of a bathroom vent grill with a manufacturer's stamp. No window view, no mail on a counter, no street sign reflected in a mirror. Just metal and tiny raised letters. I didn't recognize it. My supervisor didn't either. She told me a stamp isn't dispatchable and told me to get location, period. I could feel my heartbeat in my fingertips as I typed because I had the worst feeling that he gave me that stamp for a reason. Not to help, but to see what we'd do with it. For Chan recognized it. The thread filled with a nonce matching the stamp to a big box listing and askew. Someone linked a PDF manual with a model number circled. Someone else found the same vent in an apartment complex renovation blog where a property manager bragged about updated units and posted photos like trophies. Then someone dug up a floor plan PDF from an HOA meeting packet and started comparing bathroom dimensions to the tile photo. They posted 3 possible buildings and argued which one had the right tile, like being right mattered more than being human. I tried to turn that chaos into something my supervisor would accept. I typed updates in the supervisor chat. Model number, possible complex names, a city guess from the renovation blog. She pushed back on everything. She asked for a unit number like it was a magic word. I told her I didn't have one. She said, then we don't have enough. I said we have enough to at least alert someone in that area, call a non-emergency line, call the complex office, anything. She said if we got it wrong, we risked a false report and we can't lean on internet crowds. I said if we do nothing and he dies, that's still on us. That pissed me off so hard I could taste it. I went back to the texter and stopped being gentle. Where are you right now? What city? What building? What floor? Give me one street name. He replied like I was missing the point. He said I already had enough. He said I just didn't know how to use it. He said I was slow. I begged for anything usable, anything that wasn't a puzzle. He didn't give me a location. He didn't give me a goodbye. He sent one final text, refresh. On 4chan, Opie posted a live photo of an ambulance's rear doors in a parking lot. Not from inside the ambulance, from a distance, like a spectator who wanted proof without getting close. Replies cheered like their team scored. People posted laughing reactions. A few argued over whether the photo meant survival or death, like it mattered which kind of ending they got. My dashboard marked the texter disconnected. I sat there with my hands on the keyboard, waiting for him to reconnect, waiting for anything that would tell me whether I just helped someone or watched someone vanish. My shift timer kept counting toward 3 o'clock like it didn't give a shit. When the clock hit the end, I didn't move. The thread kept moving anyway, arguing whether it was real, whether the lights meant anything, whether anyone won. At 3:12 a.m., my supervisor asked why I'd referenced Vince's stamp in the notes. I told her the truth. She said I'd compromised the line. She said I'd become part of the entertainment. She didn't have to raise her voice. That sentence did the damage by itself, because it meant he succeeded. He turned the crisis line into content. 2 days later, someone emailed me a screenshot of my chat transcript, my supportive phrases, my escalation notes, posted on 4chan with clown emojis and a caption calling me NPC counselor. They didn't blur my first name. They didn't blur the time. They kept my words intact like trophies. Seeing my own, "I'm here with you" line turned into a joke made my face go hot, like I'd been caught doing something stupid in public, except the stupid thing was trying to help. I still volunteer nowhere. I still think about the Vince stamp. Not because it helped, because it proved something worse. He didn't need to die on camera. He just needed to make strangers practice watching.